Hey everyone, I'm Natalie Bencivenga and welcome to 5 Minutes With. Things are going to look a little different over here in 5 Minutes With over the next few months because there are a lot of elections happening here in Allegheny County, and I thought it would be important for all of us to get to know some of the candidates and some of the issues that are going to be impacting our local elections in the coming months. And so I wanted to share this little tidbit. According to the Trib, these off-year elections can become very competitive and high-profile races, and jurists in particular are elected to 10-year terms and can stand for retention to second terms with simply a yes or no vote. So it's really important that we understand who is running and for what court and how they can impact legislation over the next decade. So I would like to introduce two guests today. First, I have Jill Beck, who is running for Superior Court, and Ilan Zur, who is running for the Allegheny County Court of Common Pleas. And I always have to look at that because it's a mouthful. So thank you both so much for being here. And I'd like to just give a quick little bio of both of the candidates running. So Jill is an Allegheny County lawyer from Squirrel Hill, a Democrat. She worked for 10 years with Justice Christine Donahue as a law clerk. And then after Donahue, she worked as a civil litigator with Blank Rome. Prior work includes representing children who have been abused and neglected with Kids Voice. She's also worked with adolescents on probation, and with the Children's Hospital Child Advocacy Center, she is running again for Superior Court Judge, which is very exciting. Thank you so much for being here, Jill.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Ilan, he is an attorney and a Squirrel Hill resident. He has spent 22 years with the district attorney's office, a majority of that time as a homicide prosecutor, and now he works supervising the office's violent crimes, firearms, and narcotics division. And he gave an interesting quote to the Jewish Chronicle that I thought was worth sharing. What I've seen over the course of my career is that not everything needs to be criminalized. And if you want more real talk with Ilan, you can check him out on his weekly forum Saturday evenings, which will be picking up again at the start of April on social media. Thank you both so much for being here with me. And let's just kick it off. To start, Jill, could you just explain what is the Superior Court and why should we care about it?
Sure. The Superior Court is the Court of Appeals for criminal, civil, family, juvenile, and orphans court matters. It is the court that hears these cases automatically upon request, and these are cases that are important because they're deciding somebody's right to freedom, to parent their children, to their inheritance, to their health, wealth, safety, to their property, to their business. But even if you or I are not involved in these cases affect us because the Superior Court is interpreting the laws of Pennsylvania and our Constitution. And it is the final court in about 97 or 98% of cases to speak on these issues. So in most cases, it is the final word on these laws.
Wow, that's amazing. I didn't know that. And so I feel already enlightened. See, this is, if nothing else, I'm going to learn so much from this conversation. So Ilan, can you share with us how that contrasts to the work of the Allegheny County Court of Common Pleas?
Sure. And actually what I think Jill knows but didn't say is that the Superior Court kind of tells the Court of Common Pleas when they did something right and when they did something wrong.
Okay.
So we actually, as a judge, you have to answer to the Superior Court. Any decision you make can be challenged and therefore appealed. And that's when Jill might be in play and make decisions on my rulings if I were elected. But the Court of Common Pleas is generally the trial court. So it's comprised of 4 different divisions. You have your the family division, which handles like divorces, juvenile delinquency. You also have orphans court, which is wills and estates, civil court, civil matters. Then you have the criminal division, which handles anything from a theft case to murder cases. But it's like community court. It's where any minor crime to major crime gets handled by the Court of Common Pleas. That's like the first level.
I see. And that makes a lot of sense. So Ilan, I will toss it to you now to kick it off. Can you talk a little bit about, after all of your years working at the DA's office, why did you decide that it would be important for you to throw your hat in the ring and run for judge?
Sure. And just by way of a little background and explanation, so you understand where I'm coming from on this. So I have been practicing in the Court of Common Pleas, the criminal division, for 22 years. Spent thousands of hours in the courtroom. I've probably tried well over 400 cases, in addition to also another probably around 80 or so homicide cases. One reason I mentioned those cases because they're just a lot more involved, in depth, require a lot more work, so a lot more preparation. All this to say is that I have a lot of inside knowledge into the criminal justice system, being practicing there for so long. I've also done a lot of serious cases in which sometimes people get sentenced to spend life without parole for the crime of murder, for first-degree murder. That's the sentence. And also, as I've gotten more experience in court, in front of judges, you start to realize that, well, you know a lot. And some of the judges you're practicing in front of even don't have as much experience as you do. So those are all motivations. I think that I could be a benefit to the bench. I think based on my knowledge, based on my experience, that I would be a positive addition. But moreover, my real passion is to work in the family division, to work with juvenile delinquency. Those are children 8 to 18 years old. And as a judge in the juvenile division, you have a lot of leeway as far as crafting sentences. You don't have to follow guidelines, which are in criminal division for adults. So it's just a basic desire to help people. I want to get to that kid before, they get to criminal division and are facing charges that could land them in jail for a significant portion of their life. I want to steer somebody in a different direction. And I know certain kids can be, if given enough attention, if you care about them, then you can change the course of their life. And that's what I'd like to do.
And Jill, that probably resonates with you, having worked with adolescents on probation. So for you, why did you decide to run for Superior Court?
It's been a series of experiences that have led me to run. My work with kids on probation when I was with the AmeriCorps program led me to law school, because I wanted to be the kind of attorney who would really know my clients and who would be able to advocate for them to achieve substantial justice, which is why I then ended up at Kids Voice. And while I loved litigating, I was in court constantly. I tried over 1,400 cases while there. I also got the experience of doing appellate work in the Superior Court and found that I really enjoyed that practice. And from there, that led me to Christine Donahue's chambers. I was with her for 10 years, 6 years on the Superior Court and 4 years on the Supreme Court. And it was once I got to the Supreme Court that I realized just how important the role of the Superior Court is. Because as I said, it's an error correcting court, as Ilan mentioned, and it is the last stop, as I said, for so many of those cases. And you need someone who's going to put a real watchful eye and who's going to conduct a thorough review and treat each case as important, because it's undoubtedly the most important case to the litigants involved. And so for me, I felt that I could add the most value and affect people most positively by running for the Superior Court and being the kind of judge that conducts a thorough review and ensures that the job is done right.
Wow. Yeah, both of you, it just sounds as though you have such laser focus and such a deep understanding of the law from so many different angles that it makes sense why both of you would run. So now that you're sort of in the races, so to speak, there's so much rhetoric being thrown around the media around things that I often wonder how much jurisdiction a judge would actually have over. And I keep hearing about cash bail and how, cash bail is problematic for so many reasons. But when it comes down to it being a talking point to get people to sort of pay attention to you, as opposed to something you can actually do as a judge, I know I'm a little bit confused. So would either of you like to kick it off and talk a little bit around the mythology in terms of what you're able to actually do as a judge?
Do you want me to take that one?
Go for it, Ilan.
So with respect to cash bail, just so everyone understands, that's a situation in which you commit a crime, let's just say a robbery, and a judge sets a bond on you for $5,000. So if you pay $5,000, you can get out of jail. And what people are talking about, which is absolutely true, it's just unfair because someone who can afford it gets out, but someone who can't afford it has to stay in jail for the same crime. Well, on its face, it really doesn't make sense. So there is definitely an issue with it. But as far as it relates to the Court of Common Pleas race, I think there's a lot that's being talked about as far as cash bail, but from someone who practices in the criminal division for the better part of his career, or for all his career, and will also spend time in front of what's called the motions judge, which I'll explain is is as soon after someone is arrested, they have an opportunity to have their bail revisited by a court of common pleas judge. So the magistrate is the one who sets the bail, and they may set a cash bail. In fact, that they usually, they don't have the authority to set no bail. So they'll have to set a cash bail or no bond at all. But if they set a cash bail and their attorney wants to appeal that or have another judge review it, that's where it comes to motions court, which is soon after the arrest. As long as I've been practicing in the court of common pleas and doing motions court, which is handled by the same judges over and over, our judges do not set cash bails. Our judges, if you are a dangerous person or considered dangerous, then you'll have no bail and you'll stay in jail. If not, then you will likely get out of jail. So it's really not this hot button issue in the court of common pleas. While it is an issue in magistrate's court and is obviously patently unfair to have someone who can't afford a bond to stay in jail when someone who can gets out, that's not happening in the court of common pleas. And as a prosecutor as well, I never ask for a cash bail. To me, it's if you are dangerous and you are a risk to other people, then you should stay in jail pending trial. If not, then we'll let you out.
I understand. And Jill, what about you? What have you been hearing in the ether that you just go, oh, I need to tell people what's really going on here?
Sure. I think for the Superior Court race, something that gets repeated often is, that you have to be a judge on the Court of Common Pleas in order to be a Superior Court judge. People view that as a stepping stone. Recently, somebody referred to it as me hopscotching and skipping a step. And believe me, I have nothing but respect for common pleas judges. As a litigator, I've been before a great many of them. I've been before them in every court that the Superior Court hears. But it is a very different job from that of a Superior Court judge. Common pleas judges are managing a courtroom. They're managing their docket. They are dealing with witnesses, juries, evidence, litigants. They are ruling on the law, but generally they're ruling on the fly because they're ruling on objections in the moment. And I think Ilan could attest, it is often chaotic. It's a lot of activity, a lot of people in those rooms. The Superior Court is the opposite, really, of that. There are no people. If there are people at all, it's the judges and the lawyers, and it's just legal argument. Typically, though, it's the judges and the paper. The facts, the witnesses, the evidence, it's all set below. None of that comes up to the Superior Court. The Superior Court is a court that reads, researches, writes, and repeats. That's it. And, some may find it boring, not me. I find it very fascinating, and it is a very broad jurisdiction, which is what really interests me about it. But it is a very, very different job from the Court of Common Pleas. And, my skills, my experience, my background has really led almost directly to this point, having practiced in every court that the Superior Court is under the Superior Court's jurisdiction, having practiced in the Superior Court itself, and having drafted over 500 decisions of the very kind that the Superior Court decides. And so, with all due respect, I would love to correct the record that being a common pleas judge is not a stepping stone to getting to the appellate courts.
Okay, so you heard it here first. Jill is not playing hopscotch. She's getting down to business, as is Ilan. Well, I appreciate you both so much. And as we're wrapping up 5 minutes with, I would just love to hear, one or two lines from each of you about why people need to vote in local elections. They're notoriously poor turnouts for local elections, and yet they impact us so directly. So Jill, can you start by kicking us off and just say, why do people need to vote?
Yeah, these positions, and I said this before, they affect everybody. These decisions, they're interpreting our laws, they're interpreting our Constitution. They are going to affect you and me just as individual citizens of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And so people need to care and they need to vote. And these municipal elections, this is also in Pittsburgh, it's city council, in Allegheny County, it's county council. These are the people that have the greatest direct impact on your life on a day-to-day basis. And so please vote May 18th.
And Ilan?
Sure, and echo a lot of what Jill said. I mean, if you want to make a difference, if you want to have a voice, then you have to vote, because these are issues that will affect our everyday lives. And it's really the only way that a citizen can truly, participate in our government. You know, they are the ones, we are the ones who are responsible for putting people in place that are going to make decisions about our lives. So someone should really take, you know, everyone should take a true interest in who we elect.
Thank you both so much for your time, for your expertise, for educating all of us. I so appreciate you both spending a little bit more than 5 minutes with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Natalie.
you.